Today I'm going to be test driving this Tesla short range. I've got a long journey to do and it's about what the battery limit is, so I'm going to try and do it. I'm going to drive efficiently, I'm going to have no heater, I'm going to be bare minimum, I'm going to try and achieve basically full range. I've had the car 2 months, I've got used to its quirks, its annoyances, its things I like. I'll go over those as I'm driving. One of the things that Tesla is renowned for really is this screen in the middle. It's a bittersweet screen really. It's improved with the version 12 software in that the controls are a bit more accessible. So for example, your wipers are a bit of a gripe with quite a lot of people. On this car you've got press once to wipe and double press in for a squirt. Now if it's raining and the auto wipers haven't come on, of which they are a bit bad at doing, to be honest, it starts raining and you think, go on then, wipe, go on then, and you usually end up pressing this to get it started. Now if you're quick enough, there used to be a menu very similar to that popped up there, and you could change it was a crossways on the version 11, but as you can see, as I'm pointing at it, looking at imagine trying to do this while you're driving as well, so you look at the road, look at the screen, look at the road, look at the screen, quick press that, right, oh I'm driving, right, look, where do I want to press, oh I want level, oh it's gone away, come back, you know, it's, unless you get used to it, it's there. Now an improvement on that is version 12 software, it's telling you here you can now use its left ball. So if you press the wipe and you think I just want a number 1 and click its left ball, it stays on number 1. Take the menu back, wipe again, back to auto. So slight improvement on version 12, compensating for the lack of wiper stick, because this is actually your indicator stick. Now something I can't really demonstrate here because I'm parked up, but off. At night this side view comes up, which is my right side looking backwards, and there's a problem with it, is when it's indicating, the glare of the bulb virtually wipes out your camera view every time it's lit, so it's wipe out, come back, wipe out, come back. So bad placement for the indicator repeater and camera doesn't seem to have improved with version 12, because basically it's just getting glared. Now we can press the lying meter. I don't have it on miles normally because it's just, well, it just lies. But I've got about 200 miles to do today, and as you can see, that says I can do it. I've got the heater set to minimal fan, no heating, it's on low, no heating, just blowing on my windscreen, so absolute minimal power usage there. Just keeping my windscreen clear of condensation because it's a damp day, but I shouldn't need any heating because it's 13 degrees out there. So that's part of my efficient driving. I found on a cold day, sensible heating, 19-20 degrees, you will lose a third of your battery on a drive, so that's immense for a cold day. So today we're removing that from the equation. There won't be any heating on. So I'll show you the nav system. I'm going to DE numbers. Where's numbers? Oh, they're behind my phone, I can't see for looking. DE738EJ. So I'm going there. It's 62 miles away. I'll do that. And it tells you. Now, if you ignore this Lion one at 208 miles, and you look at this one, is a better guess of how many percentage you're going to have left. Why won't it focus? Focus! Anyway, that says 45% there. On the trip we can put add a stop. So after that I'm going to DN1 1QE. 1QE. Go. Now I'm not sure if that's going to put that on the way to... It's not telling me anything. Not very intuitive, is it? What's that? DN1? No, move that down. No. No. Edit trip. Put that one down there. Yeah, that's it. And then add that one, which is basically where I am now. So that's my round trip. So yeah, that's my trip I need to do. So it's telling me there, it's calculating that, and it's telling me I need a supercharger, which is great. Oh, it's still updating itself. So it's... So what's it done there? Let's have a look. See, I wouldn't go this way. I'd go this way, which is more efficient. It's motorway that way, so it's high use. So I'm going to try and beat what it says. So it's saying to charge there. I'm not going to do that. I have no need for that, in theory. I'm going to beat its efficiency thing. 36, nonsense. We'll be better than 36 at the first stop, he says with confidence. So let's see. I'm going to set off now, driving really steady, and we'll see how we go. Okay. Very close to bushes. It bongs a lot. I need to trim the bush. So that's down to me. Right, where are we? So, no heating, no heated seat. I need a sun visor. There we go. So let's talk about its other things. It's not a quiet car. You can do 25 miles an hour now, and that's your road noise. The horn's pretty loud. Give it that. It's a nice two-tone horn. Boop. Oh, and it's set that if you blow the horn, the onboard cameras record for incidents and stuff like that, which is a nice touch. I like that. But you do have to put a USB stick in the center console to store your files. They're not stored on board, but it's a nice touch being able to just record like that. It's got memory seats. I like memory seats because there are two of us that drive this car regularly, and they've got the easy entry, it calls it, and that's where your seat goes back to a predetermined position. I think you set it for getting in and out easily. Nice touch, but I've also found sometimes if I'm about to set off and I lean over to do something over there, or I've leaned forward to touch my phone to set my sat nav up before I set off, and as I lean forward, it's assumed I'm getting out of the car, so the easy entry triggers and starts going back to as if I'm getting out of the car again, and turns everything off again. So good and bad on the easy entry. Too sensitive. Now the wipers, I know I touched on wipers there at the beginning. It's got an auto setting which needs to be better, let's be honest. It doesn't start the wipers soon enough when it starts to rain, and then when it stops raining it doesn't turn them off. But then the problem then is the blades are like dry heaving up and down your windscreen. That causes your blades to wear out, which causes it to blur your screen. So you've got to manually turn them off, which again, there isn't a button to manually turn them off. You have to press the wipe once button, then go into the menu or roll its left ball down there and click it. Should be better on the auto sensing. But it's got quite a big windscreen, good coverage of wipers, but it's good smeared coverage after not a long time because your blades are getting worn. I wonder how bouncy this video footage is. My phone's bouncing around there. Top quality recording equipment, you know, telephones. Performance figures. Now this is peasant spec. Now, I'm not going to complain at that because I got it for free. But it's claimed on paper 0 to 60 5.4 seconds. I timed it and it was 6 seconds, and that was with a full battery as well. Battery health, battery charge does significantly affect 0 to 60 speeds on these, so you can expect it to drop off from 6 seconds. Also bearing in mind that it's a 4-year-old car as well, and it's done 50,000 miles, so there's some quality of battery degradation or something like that that's probably affecting that as well. You know, it may have done 5.4 when it was brand new, which in electric car terms, 5.4 is fairly pedestrian these days, isn't it? You know, they are talky, they are nippy off the mark. You know, I drive a fast car normally. I drive an Audi S8, which is 500 horsepower, V8 twin turbo. It's a lot of fun, it's quick, and it's as thirsty as it sounds. This doesn't feel quick compared to that, because it's not. But this does feel responsive, more responsive, because my Audi has twin turbos. You got to wait for the turbos to spool up a second. It take, you know, unless you're kicking it down gears ready to go, you're always going to have that turbo lag. So electrics always feel a little bit nippier on the initial take up, but it feels fairly pedestrian. You put your foot fully down, and you're like, is that it? It's all right. You know, it's not lacking. You know, it's not a slow car, but in modern electric car terms, it's not fast either, is it? I know Tesla are claiming under 2 seconds on one of their models, which again is a lie, because they're deleting the first bit of rollout, they call it, so it's actually more than that. I don't know why, because 2 seconds is impressive. You know, even if it's 2.1, it's impressive. Don't lie about it, just tell it as it is. But you know, we are reaching the limits of traction on these 0 to 60 launches, aren't they? And to me, 0 to 60 is more important than top speed, because that's the bit you're going to use the most. You're going to use 0 to 30, boom, away from lights, you're out, great. You know, and it can do 155 flat out, well, great. Well, who's going to do that? You know, it's not autobahn, is it? You know, unless you're in a country with no speed limits and you want to use it regularly, it's not really of any use in top speed. Wing mirrors, let's talk wing mirrors. Right, they're not big enough in my eyes, but then my friend drove it and she said, oh, these wing mirrors are great, aren't they? They're much bigger than on my Corsa. So I guess I'm comparing with the Audi S8 mirrors, really. It's a big car, it's got big mirrors. She's driving a little car, these felt like better mirrors to her. They're electric, they fold when it's stowed, they tilt when you put it in reverse to help you reverse, great. But they are lacking dimming. Now, I don't know if this is available on other models, but the rear view mirror inside, that dims, automatically dims. Doesn't quite dim enough for my liking, but it does dim. But the side mirrors don't dim at all, and I don't really understand why, because that's not new technology. I had that on a car from 2003 at least. So yeah, I don't know why they've missed that. That's an essential, really. Wiper doesn't cancel. No, cancel. Right. wiper doesn't cancel unless it senses you've turned a corner, but not every corner's 90 degrees, is it? We're not all living in America where it's a grid system. Glass roof. I like the glass roof, but I don't like the glass roof. I like it because it makes it lighter in here and airy, but it's a fixed level of dim. And I know these days you have electronic dimming roofs where they put a voltage through it and it blacks out and dims the amount of sun coming in. And I think this needs it, or at least a blind, because the roof does, well, I mean, it's basically the car is glass from the bottom of your windscreen right through to your boot there. It's glass, the whole thing is glass. And when the sun's shining and it's above you, then it's blazing on you. You know, there's all glass up here and it's blazing down on you. And there's nothing you can do about it because there's no blind to cut that sun off. And again, is it an optional extra? I haven't looked, but that should dim or have a blind or something, because it can be really annoying, especially if it's just forward of you but behind the top of the windscreen, bit of sun visor bit here, because then it's just shining right in your eyes and there's not a lot you can do. You have to duck under and put your head under this bit here, you know. It's not good enough, but the glass roof's great when the sun's not glaring on you. Now let me give you my situation where I am with electric cars. I don't dislike electric cars, but I do like cars in general. Hence why I treated myself to that Audi S8. It's a lot of fun, it's luxury, it's a proper sleeper car because it doesn't look quick. And I have treated myself to a Ford Cortina pickup truck that I like, and I like my motorbikes. And I've had electric cars in the past. I was a fairly early adopter. Back in 2014, there was a Nissan Leaf deal where they basically mispriced it. You paid £250 a month for a car, no deposit, nothing, 4-year PCP, £250 a month, great. And electricity was something like 10 pence a kilowatt hour back in 2014. It was really cheap. And the entire charging network was also free because it was in its infancy. So at the time I was running a Saab Turbo 9.3 convertible and I was spending 130 quid a month on petrol doing my daily commute of about a 42 mile round trip. So I thought, I don't trust this Saab. I think it's about to die, because it was about, well, it was a 2001, so it was 13 years old. It wasn't in great condition. And I thought, I'm just gonna sell it off cheap, get this Nissan Leaf deal and use it as my commuting car, because I also had a pickup truck at the time, so it was second. If I did a long journey, do it in a pickup truck, great. And I bought this car to commute to work and back 43 miles a day, which was spot on, you know. I mean, I know the Leaf was pretty hideous, but it did nothing wrong. As a car, it was just not fun. I charged it on a granny lead. I didn't have a fast charger. It was 32 kilowatt hour battery, and I got one of the first ones with the heat pipe heater. Prior to 2014, they were a resistive heater, so you got a bit more efficiency with it, and it was all right. You know, I ran it 3 years. I gave it back early on the PCB because electricity prices went through the roof. They started charging for the network, and I just give it back. So, you know, I'm not anti-EV. I'm anti-bullshit, that's what it is. I don't like the bullshit that gets spewed out with EVs that, you know, I don't think they're saving the planet, to be honest. There's a lot of materials goes into an electric car, and they say that you break even about, is it 60, 70,000 miles from a green point of view. But they're a little bit self-defeating, aren't they? Because if you want to do a lot of miles, then you want a lot of range. And if you want a lot of range, you need a big battery, so you pay a lot of money for the car. and they devalue. They devalue quite quick. So you need to get that miles. You need a big fuel saving to compensate you for that devaluation of an electric car. So then people say, oh, I don't need the range because I don't do the miles. So then you're buying a car that's far more expensive than a petrol car to not do the miles. So you're paying a lot of money for a car that is devaluing very quickly, and you're not getting a fuel saving. So, you know, I get you could buy it from an eco point of view. You know, you might feel like you're doing the environment some good buying it. Well, are you? I mean, if you're keeping it till it's done 60, 70,000 miles, you're at break even. So, I don't know. For whatever your reasons are anyway, I don't really buy into the eco stuff. I think we're going to, I think, end up on some kind of hybrid hydrogen electric system at some point. But the technology is still moving fast, isn't it? I touched on there of the Nissan Leaf. Heater was resistive in the early ones up to 2014, and the heater was after 2014 was a heat pipe, more efficient one that did make a difference. But then Tesla, for some reason, didn't learn from Nissan's experience there, because Nissan decided that after, was it 3 years, or was it 2011 the Leaf came out, and in 2014 they changed it. This Model 3 came out long after that and had a resistive heater. This has a resistive heater, and it's painfully thirsty. On a cold day, you're going to lose a third of your battery in heating. A third of your battery. So you look at the 200-mile range and you think, right, 140, you're done. That's not good enough. And it's not good enough when it had already been discovered that resistive heaters were an issue. So that's not good enough, Tesla. Do better than that. And I know the new ones have got resistive. They're not resistive, they're heat pipe. So let's bring us on to efficiency there. Right? If I put my trip up so far, I live on top of a hill, so I do tend to get fairly efficient beginning of my trip, because I get the regen on the downhill from there. And, you know, we're a little bit stop-start here around town, but I'm trying to let it regen everything and not brake. I want to do an efficient drive, try my hardest to make it. Well, basically, because if I have to stop at a supercharger, I'm paying a lot more money than I pay at home to charge my car. So I've done 7 miles and I'm running 211 watt hours per mile at the minute. So that's about average. That figure is only taking into account what has gone to the wheels. It doesn't take into account lights, wipers, heaters, radio, all these other things. So yeah, bear that in mind. But that's alright, it's an alright figure. You tend to get very good watt hours if you drive it gently around town, because you're not really dealing with wind resistance. I am going on quite a bit of motorway today, but I'm gonna try and slipstream a truck, just sit behind a truck on cruise. I really want it to make it, because I'm tight. I'm a tight Yorkshireman, and I don't want to pay 70 pence a kilowatt hour when I could charge it at home for 7.5 pence a kilowatt hour. So let's talk about efficiency of electric cars in general. If you charge on the road network at these fast chargers that you'll have seen, some of them are obscenely expensive, and actually I think there should be a government ruling saying that they can't charge that much, because currently I think my standard rate at home is 26 pence a kilowatt hour, and long-term average of this car since I got it, 262 watt hours per mile, so just shy of 4 miles per kilowatt hour. Call it 3.8 miles a kilowatt hour, so 3.8 miles for 26 pence-ish, which is alright, you know, that's nice and cheap. But I do have the intelligent Octopus Go tariff, which is fantastic. So I get 6 hours, like the old Economy 7 where you got 7 hours cheap at night. The Economy, it's like Economy 7 but smarter. So you get 6 hours at night from 11:30 at night till 5:30 in the morning. You get your car and your house all running at 7.5 pence per kilowatt hour. And also, if you need more charge, you can put you tell it on your app. You say, right, okay, I need 100% battery by 6 a.m. Now, let's say you get home and the battery's on the death, it's flat. My home charger charges at 7 kilowatts per hour. So it could put in 7 kilowatt hours in an hour. It's got 6 hours to do that. So 6 times 7, 42, and it's a 50 odd battery. So you can't fill it in those 6 hours. But if you tell it with enough warning, if you say, it's plugged in for the next 12 hours and I want it full by 7 in the morning, it will add some extra time to that charging for you. So you still get it at 7.5 pence, and it's absolutely fantastic. It's the best tariff going for electric cars at the minute, especially if you can only use 7 kilowatts without because you're probably not on 3-phase at home. 7 kilowatts is the most you can charge at without going to 3-phase. So given the size of modern electric car batteries, I mean, some of them now are heading up to the 100 kilowatt hour mark, and you can only put in 42 in 6 hours. Admittedly, you're probably not going to drain your battery every day because we generally don't do 200 or 300 miles a day, and it wouldn't matter if you put 42 in today overnight and then put another 42 in night after, because you're probably not going to do that much mileage day after. But the smart tariff allows you to fill the battery with cheap electricity, and it's a brilliant tariff to be on. So that equates then to me doing 3.8 miles per 7.5 pence, which is just bloody amazing, isn't it? Let's face it, that is really, really cheap motoring. And also the fact that the devaluation of this car is not my problem. This is a company car for me. I've got a company car on order. I've ordered Hyundai Ioniq 6 for my company car, but in the meantime, while we wait for it to be delivered, I've got this Tesla. So I am very grateful to my employer for the company car. It's one of the perks of my job, and I'm looking forward to my new car in a couple of months. But until then, I've got this. So yeah, back to the 7.5 pence for 3.8 miles in effect. So that's it's like, what, 2 pence a mile, is it? Yeah, 2 pence a mile. It's really cheap. My Audi S8 does about 18 miles per gallon around town, and a gallon of fuel. It runs on super unleaded because it's got the Lambo V8. So you're talking what's that, 7 quid a gallon. So I get 17 miles for 7 quid, and for 7 quid in this, if I can keep it on the cheap tariff, I get 350 miles. So it just doesn't compare. But and this is the big but, if you haven't got car charging at home and you have to charge on the network, now you're slightly better as a Tesla driver. You use the Tesla chargers. They're cheaper than the general chargers, but if you can't get to one of those, you're looking at up to 80 pence a kilowatt hour. Now 80 pence then for 3.5 miles, 3.8 miles, is not cheap running, is it? That's not cheap at all. 80 pence. That equates to what we're there, 3.80 divided by 3.8. 80 divided by 3.4 is 20 pence. So it's about 21 pence a mile then So it's 10 times the price. I'm doing it 2p a mile for my off-peak tariff. So 10 times the price. That is obscene when you can charge so cheap at home. The companies that are doing that are actually having everybody's pants down, and it's a disgrace. And if the government had a proper agenda to genuinely get EVs on the road, then they should fix that, because that's just not good enough. Now I'm in one of those scenarios now that it's started to rain and my screen hasn't washed, and if these were manual wipers now, I'd turn them on. So I'm just gonna leave it out of curiosity and see if it actually does wipe at all, because it's stopped raining, but my screen's like 50% covered in rain here. We're coming up to 50 mile an hour for the first time since I set off. You can hear the road noise. It's not great. It's not a quiet car. I suppose they made it fairly lightweight for efficiency, but a bit of soundproofing would be better. And it's not really that lightweight, is it? They're a 2-ton car. I don't know how it is on tyres. I've had it 2 months. I can't really gauge on 2 months driving how much tyres it's used. But any heavy car with a lot of torque, it is gonna munch through tyres. I took it off cruise early there to just let it regen up to this roundabout, because when your battery, people that don't drive EVs might not be aware of this, when your battery is full, your regen braking performance is limited, because it's got nowhere to put that power that you're regenerating. To regen power, you've got to store it, and if your battery's 100% full as you set off and you live the top of a hill, then it's just going to run down that hill without any regen braking and waste that kinetic energy that you've got. Whereas if you charge to 80%, which they recommend for daily use, which I do with this, I charged it today fully because of this journey, but generally 80% does me for my local stuff. So with me living at the top of a hill, I can leave my house, and by the time I get to the bottom it's 81%. So I recouped that energy that it does. So this currently battery's at 92%, so there is some regen braking, but it's not full force. And I am trying to drive again as efficiently as I possibly can. Right, what next? Glovebox. Glovebox, good idea, it locks. Who's squeaking? Is that me? Glovebox. No, it's the car behind me squeaking. That's good. Is it a Tesla? No. The Glovebox locks, and it's got no handle and no key or anything. It's a button on your screen, which takes some finding when you first use it. It turns out it's in the menu system. Now if you're driving, you want something out of your glove box, quite a distraction, and many things in this screen are a distraction. But you've got to press a button which releases your glove box and it drops down, and then you think press the button again, it closes it. No, you've got to push it manually to close it. Weird setup. I don't really think it's necessary for a locking glove box these days. Do we do that? You know, if you've got a glove box with a key, do you actually lock it? I know I don't. Do you keep gloves in it? Why is it a glove box? Maybe I need some driving gloves. Some driving gloves and get the old get the tash curling. Very, very dapper. Phantom braking. Google it. Google phantom braking Tesla. Let's talk about that. So, the worst one I probably had. I was driving along, it was one lane each way, and there's a traffic island in the middle. for somebody to, like a refuge for a bit of a, not really a crossing, just, you know, it wasn't a zebra crossing or anything, but a refuge point so people can cross one lane, pause, cross the other, because it's a fairly busy single road, you know, just one lane each way. Now I'm driving along 30 mile an hour, just minding my own business, and I see this person crossing, and they're crossing to the refuge point, but not entering onto my side of the road, you know, they're stopping there. And the car on the auto screen, I don't know what you call this right hand third of the screen, I'll post up a picture and video, stuff like that, maybe implement it just here, but the right third of the screen shows your road layout, the cars around you, street signs, people, dogs, cyclists, motorbikes, all that. And it's pretty good at identifying. Certainly it's improved in identifying since version 12. Version 11 was a bit shoddy on the software. But I'm driving along. This person's crossing from across the opposite side of the road, you know, to stop at the refuge. And this car did an emergency stop because it thought I was going to run them over. And the person behind me hadn't anticipated I was going to do an emergency stop because the road was clear, and we very, very nearly had a crash. It was so close. It's a bit of a liability, to be honest. It needs to be less twitchy. It's not right. You know, we don't want to run people over, but we also don't want to make people run into the back of us. It's worse on cruise control. Now I haven't used cruise control yet today, and we'll come to that. But the phantom braking, just Google it. Honestly, there's such a thing about it. People should be talking about it more because it's not good enough. So cruise control, you've got two types of cruise on this. I wish it had a dumb cruise. It's got adaptive cruise, which adjusts its speed to the car in front of you, and I wish you could turn that off, because in some scenarios, you know, I live in Yorkshire, a lot of the roads are windy, there's parked cars or chevrons or bollards or corners or whatever, and I know as a person, I'm looking at that road, I'm cruising along 30-40 mile an hour, and I know where I'm going round this stuff, and it'll be fine. There's no need to be slowing down. So I wish it had a dumb cruise for stuff like that, because there's the adaptive cruise. I mean, Tesla don't call it adaptive cruise, do they? It's on, let me look quickly on the menu system here. It's traffic aware cruise control, that's what they call it. Adaptive cruise, everybody calls it on their cars. So it senses the car in front, adjusts speed accordingly. My 12-year-old S8 does it. Brilliant. It was actually a requirement when I bought that. I didn't want to have one without that, because adaptive cruise is really nice. It's nice in traffic. The Tesla system, I would say, is a little bit better in traffic, because when the traffic picks up again, it sets off. Whereas if you've stopped for more than 3 seconds, on my Audi it requires you to tell it to set off. And I quite like they've just been able to sit back and let it bimble along in traffic, stop start, and not have to intervene. However, it's not great for any road with any kind of things it might be fooled by. So for example, I've been driving along and there's a lay-by. There's a lay-by with a couple of 3 cars parked up, and the cruiser's gone along and it's seen these cars parked up, bearing in mind they're a whole lane that way in a lay-by basically, and the car's slowed right down because it thinks we're stopping behind it, but yet the drawing on screen could see that my lane heads straight past those cars. and it slows down. And it can do that quite violently. You know, you could be cruising at 60 mile an hour, and then there's a lay-by with a car in, and sometimes it doesn't do it, sometimes it does. I don't know what criteria it has for triggering this, but it doesn't like it sometimes, and it's, again, quite dangerous. It slows down quite abruptly. The car behind you can see that the road in front of you is clear, so they're not anticipating an emergency stop, and suddenly your car's really anchoring on to stop behind these cars that are not even in your lane. So that's there are times where dumb cruise would be better. I'll demonstrate cruise and cruise with auto steer on a separate video and probably insert it here, because I want to do a forward facing camera so that you can see the screen, and today I've only got this single camera set up. For efficiency today, I'm not going to go over 60 mile an hour, and I'm also going to just plonk it behind an Arctic on the motorway at whatever they're doing, 53, 54, and just let it cruise behind it. I charged to 100% at home last night, and then when I looked at my car about midday, it was at 98 because the Sentry system runs. I'll turn that off later on to save me some battery when I'm parked up, because I've got a job to do and then drive home, and the Sentry system doesn't need to be on, so I don't want to waste any battery. But today, 60 mile an hour max, sit behind a truck, cruise along, steady away. I've allowed loads of time for my journey today, so it doesn't really matter, so I can get this review done. Now, since we left, we're now at 90%, so if I press trip on screen, it will tell me I'm at 241 watt hours per mile, so slightly above my long-term average. I've done 17 miles and we've used 10% battery. Now, I'm not a maths genius, but that sounds a lot like we're going to get 170 miles to the death of the battery, because it's used 10% and 17 miles. Although it did read 99% because it keeps using battery when it's parked. I charged it to 100 to midday. I popped it on charge a couple of hours before I set off, and it went to 100, and then it stopped, and I told it to charge again probably 20 minutes before I set off, but it was still saying 99% when I got in, so it is what it is. So getting on the motorway for the first time this journey. I've got 30 miles, is it? Something like that to do down this motorway. And I'm not going to rush. I will put auto steer on. So this is the only time auto steer works really well. So I'm setting my max speed now to 60, and the auto steer holds me in lane, the centre of the lane, and it's pretty good. You know, it still requires some not input on the steering wheel, but it requires to sense that you're touching the steering wheel. And if you let go, it will bong at you and tell you. And if you don't do anything, it'll turn auto steer off and bring the car to a stand as a safety measure. But on the motorway, auto steer works very well. It doesn't have any lane change assist or anything like that. So I've heard on the Hyundai version, if you're cruising on auto steer like this, and you put your indicator on, it will change lane if the lane's clear, which is nice. But this hasn't got it. So you if you change lane without indicating, it'll tell you off because it thinks you're trying to leave the lane, and then you've got to reinstate the auto steer after you've changed lane. You can set the distance with the right ball, left and right, for the distance that you want to cruise from the vehicle in front. I'm following a truck now that's doing 50, and I'll sit behind him, and if another truck passes me, I'll probably tuck in behind that one and just go a bit faster behind that. But it's an efficiency and range test, but whilst trying our very best to get it. So I'm not going to go tearing at 70 down motorway. Got another Tesla following me. He's going for it. He's not doing a range test, obviously. I can't offer you a review on the sound system because I've got to be honest, I'm not much into music. I tend to put a podcast on. I've broken the speaker here with my foot. Oops. 4-year-old, the check strap is knackered on this door. Again, poor quality there, it shouldn't be, but it cracks and bangs. And I was parked on a hill trying to get out, the check strap wouldn't hold the door, and it swung back, hit me, knocked my coffee cup, spilt coffee on me as I'm getting out, and I lost my shit with it and stuck my boot through it to hold it open without realising that I was putting my boot into the speaker front, and it cracked because it's not metal, it's some kind of plastic. To say I've had no heating on, I'm actually getting a bit warm, so I'm just going to vent with no heat the 16 degree air, 15 degree air from outside. I've got fan level 3 there and just venting, put it at me, there we go. Because I don't want it misting up, because if it mists up you've got to put your front screen demist on, and if you put that on, that's chewing into your battery too much. We don't want that. So let's go to trips, keep an eye on its efficiency. I'll give a little efficiency update every 10% of battery and see how we're getting on. Let's talk connectivity. Some things quite good, some things not. It's got what they call it, wireless charger. Now, my friend had one of these, and after a year of using the wireless charger, his phone battery was destroyed. And I've heard similar stories from other people, not just with Tesla wireless chargers, but in general. So I don't really use it. I tried it once, but also its range isn't enough, so it doesn't project through my phone case. So if I want to use it, I've got to take my phone out of its case, and I just can't be bothered. It's easier to just plug it in, because also you've got to look down there for the sat-nav. It's right down below your main screen. If you want to have Waze or Google Map, you have to use your phone, because guess what? There's no Android Play, there's no Apple Play, so you've got to use your apps separately. Now, if you want to use them separately, you want them visible. So I have one phone mounted underneath to the left of my screen, and I tend to put Waze on it. I found Waze picks up on closed roads and accidents a little bit quicker than Google Map. So I've unplugged the wireless charger, because if you lift it and look underneath it, there's just a USB port, so you can plug your normal USB cable in there and charge your phone normally with it. So I do that, but nicely, and I'm surprised it's on this, but I like, it's got an old style cigarette lighter type 12 volt socket in this center console, and in there I've got 4 USBs. So for my job, I'm often working at night. I've got a head torch which has got a bespoke connector, which has got USB on the other end, and I've got a really bright camping torch type thing that I plug both of them in there, and I can connect my phone and other stuff. There's a tab, I charge all sorts like that. So without that 12 volt, that would have been a bit annoying not to have that, so it's good having that. The centre console's a good size. It came with a silly little tray that sat in the top, which I didn't want, but there's also nowhere else to put it. It'd be nice if it fit in the tray in front or under the wireless charger or something like that, somewhere for it to go, but it doesn't, so it's in the boot. The centre console doesn't adjust height. I like to have my arm up a little bit more than this is set at. Maybe 4 centimetres higher would be ideal for me. It'd be nicer if it was adjustable. It's not adjustable. It doesn't move forwards, backwards, or up or down. It just opens. See how we can see that on camera? There, it opens like that. 2 good sized cup holders there. It is American. They're going to be in them. They're in front of it. And we have coffee. Now you can see now this is fairly effortless cruising, because I'm not dealing with traffic, because I'm not overtaking anything, I'm just sat behind a truck. It's really quite easy driving. It's stress-free driving, because you're not battling for position in traffic, overtaking stuff in and out, coming back in. And sometimes I'll do this just for efficiency, really. I just set off and give myself that extra 15 minutes before and just let it bimble along. You know, if you've got a lot of miles to do, you're not driving for fun, are you? It's not an interesting drive. It's just put a podcast on, sit behind a truck, cruise efficiently. Maybe I'm being an old man, but you know, I'm driving for work. If I want to have a bit of fun, I could go play out in my S8, play with the V8, go out in my Cortina truck. Now, something happened there which I quite like on this car. I've noticed is better than on my Audi, for example. So on my Audi, it's got adaptive cruise, so it sits behind the car in front, and it leaves too big a gap for my liking, really. A gap big enough that people will pull into it. Now, when they pull into it with my Audi, it can be quite abrupt dropping back, quite a severe drop back. Now, the Tesla, with it being more of a smart system, it senses that somebody's indicating to go in that gap and gently backs off, even before they've pulled into that gap. It gently backs off and lets them pull in, and as they pull out again. So what happened there was the guy came in from my left there, slip road, slipped in between me and this truck I'm following, and then he pulled out into lane 2 and went away. And the Tesla sensed, as he was indicating the end of the slip road, it was already starting to back off and give him room, gently. And then obviously it caught the truck back up again after he moved into lane 2. So that's a nice touch, that it senses, it preempts that somebody's indicating in a lane next to you. They are going to fill that gap, you know. So that's a nice touch. Certainly better than my dumb cruise in that scenario, or better than standard adaptive cruise. Now, I'm probably going to be testing capacity of this car today as well, because I'm off to pick up a rowing machine, and I really hope it fits, because I'm driving 80 something miles to pick it up. The back seats drop on this car. I'm on my own, so it doesn't matter. I could even put this front passenger seat forward if we need a bit more room, or even lay it flat and put stuff on top of it. But the rowing machine's quite long. It folds in half. It's two pieces sort of thing. But I'll be testing capacity today, because I've got all my work gear in the boot as well. I'll kind of pull that out, put the rowing machine in, put my stuff around it. I'll take some pictures of that when I've loaded it in. We'll see how it looks. The seats fold down in like a 60-40 type thing, with the the middle seat and the left seat coming down together, and the right seat comes down on its own. So you could drop the right seat and still seat 4 legally with seat belts. Something that I think's lacking from the Tesla sat-nav system, which is on Waze, for example. On Waze, it tells you when you enter an average speed check zone, it tells you these things. You know, it's It's not informative enough in the Tesla system. It's a bit bland for such a blingy screen. The sat-nav system's a bit bland. It's very good for finding chargers, Tesla chargers. You know, if you tell it, and it even tells you the price and how many bays are full and all that. That's quite good. But you know, average speed check zone. Why can't it tell you what you've averaged since you entered that zone? There's quite a few of these average zones I'm going through today, so I'm limited to 50 mile an hour, or 44 as we're doing now, because that's just the speed of traffic, or speed of this truck rather, but it's alright, plenty of time. Not in any rush. I need to do a review of my Audi actually. I've had it just a year, and I thought I'd have it a year before I reviewed it and sort of assess where I'm at with it. I'll have to get on that. I'd like to see more cars with bigger sun visors. This one's not big enough. I've got the sun here on the right hand side of me now. If I put the sun visor there, it's just lined up with a gap. The sun visor is 3 inches shorter than my window, so it's pointless. I've had a couple of cars in the past where the sun visor has come down, folded around like that, and then it's got a little extension that comes out. And there's then another sun visor, a slightly smaller one, underneath that sun visor. So then you've got a nice one here with a big extension that covers the whole window, and you've got, that lane's closed, stay in this lane. Where was I? Yeah, you've got a big sun visor folded round to your window, which is blocking the sun on the side there. But then a second sun visor that folds down, because once you've folded it to that side, you haven't got one here, have you? And I've had a couple of cars with double sun visors, and that's a really nice touch. The first one I had that on was a Yukon XL Chevy Suburban, basically, with the GMC version of it. Really nice car, which I've fully utilised because we regular had 7 in it, towing heavy loads, pulling the seats out, using it like a van, proper workhorse. These sun visors are, well, they're just 3 inches too short. I mean, if they were longer, they'd block your rear view mirror here, but this is why you have it with a little extended bit. So that bong there is telling me to apply slight force to the steering wheel. So I've got my hand on it, you know, I am touching it, but it obviously didn't sense it. And it's just telling you to touch the wheel, let it know you're touching it. And it doesn't slow down or disable anything with that bong, it's just a little reminder. If you don't do it, it does start telling you off. Preconditioning battery. Oi, stop doing that. So if you let it precondition the battery, it warms the battery up so it can be supercharged at full speed. Well, I don't want to be charging right now. I want to be doing the journey I'm doing. Now, because I've been driving efficiently, I think it was about 45% it said it'd be when I get to this first destination. And because I've been driving efficiently, I've got that up to 54% now. And let's see if we can get it up from that. I mean, you know, admittedly not everybody wants to drive slow, but not a choice here. We're still in this 50 average zone. This truck in front of me is doing 43, and I'll just leave it at that because I'm not in any rush. In fact, I may need to call ahead and let the person know that I'm actually running early. It's not sensing my hand on the wheel there. Weird. Frustratingly, I was promised a Tesla long range. This is the standard range plus. The long range has 50% bigger battery. Now, we had both the standard range plus and the long range available at work for me to use until my car that I've ordered comes. But the long range one had a suspension fault, so they said, oh, take the short range, we'll get that booked into Tesla and then swap them over when it becomes available, because I do quite a bit of mileage and the long range would just make that a bit easier. That car's been with Tesla 2 months and hasn't been fixed. That's not good enough, is it? What the hell's wrong with a car suspension that takes 2 months to fix? Nothing. That's just shoddy as that. Absolutely. You know, I bet if they were provided a courtesy car, they'd have fixed it. Not good enough. And in the meantime, I have to tolerate this standard range. Because the standard range on this today, I could have just done 70. You know, heater on, lights on, wipers. And I'd probably just scraped around at that. But that wouldn't make for a good video, would it? Not that this is a good video. So we just left an average speed check zone. We managed to get up to 52. And then we're entering an average speed check zone. Good for efficiency. There you see. By my reckoning, if you charge at one of those expensive chargers, you do a miles per pound equivalent of about 49 miles per gallon, which, you know, any diesel's going to be doing more than 49 miles per gallon, isn't it? I did a review on the Octavia. If you look on my videos, you'll see the Octavia review, and on one trip where I just did 60, that averaged I think it was 77.8 miles per gallon for the 2-litre diesel Octavia Estate, which is phenomenal. You know, that's a lot more than 49 miles per gallon. So it's not cheap motoring if you don't have the charger at home. And I feel sorry for people that have bought it thinking that they could have cheap motoring like that. Because I wouldn't trust the salesman to tell them that they're paying 10 times the electric price than somebody who's set up right. Right, we're at 80% battery now, and we've done 40 miles. So by my reckoning there then, that's bang on 200 miles range if we keep driving like this. What are you bonging at? Not even telling me what you're bonging at. I'm at 208 watt hours per mile, 8 kilowatt hours used. See, that doesn't really add up, does it? It's a 53 kilowatt hour battery, and if I've used 8 kilowatts, that's not 20%. Or is it only 40 kilowatts usable? This massive average speed zone has made quite a difference to the efficiency in this. We're now down to 192 watt hours per mile. I'm being passed by the Mercedes EQE. I had a look at the EQS the other day, which really is a nice thing inside, but I also haven't got 130 grand spare to buy it. Nor would I want to do a finance option on it, because can you imagine what it costs and what it depreciates? Not for me, thanks. I dare say this average speed zone wouldn't have helped my Audi so much, because it's got an 8-speed box, and at 70 mile an hour it's barely taking over. And I did a run from mine up to Scotland, so Halifax up to Scotland, and when I came off the top of the M6 where I finished doing 70 mile an hour, it had averaged 37 miles per gallon, and I'd basically gone at 70 the entire way. And I think if we were doing 46 in it like we are here, it wouldn't even be in top gear. It keeps bogging at me to hold this steering wheel. I'm holding it. I've heard of people buying like a little lead weight so that they fasten to their steering wheel, and it constantly, if you mount it at 90 degrees on your steering wheel, and it makes the car, it fools the car into thinking that you're pulling down on the wheel on one side constantly, and stops it bogging at you, so you can actually sit with your hands off the wheel. Now obviously that's illegal in Britain. I don't know about other countries, but that's definitely not legal in Britain. I'm not sure where. You can hear the rain maybe now. The wipers haven't started yet. They didn't wipe at all last time. It just evaporated eventually. But yeah, I think in America, there are some areas of America where full autopilot is allowed legally, and I know I've watched a video of a guy in a Tesla doing that, telling it to go to Home Depot, and it drove surprisingly well actually, but I'm not sure what the legality of it is. Do you have to have your hands on the wheel? I would assume the driver is still fully responsible for control of the car. If self-driving cars fully come that don't have controls, who's responsible then? I'm not really sure. If you have no way of interacting with the car to control it, could you be held responsible for a crash? Or is the programmer of the software responsible? I don't know. But in Britain, you're the driver. You are responsible for it. And it does require you to be touching the wheel. I'm touching the wheel as I say it! Shut up! So we seem to be sitting around this 192, 191 watt hours per mile at the minute. We're 77% yet, we're still a way off. But running quite efficiently at this speed, I have to say. If you want to do lots of miles in one of these, sit behind a truck in an average speed zone. As long as you've got nothing better to do. So in a self-driving car, do you sit looking out? Or do you do something else and make use of your time? I don't know. Do you trust it? There's a lot of variables, isn't there? In a fully self-driving car, you could have backward facing front seats and face your back seats and sit and have a game of poker or something. I don't know. I was curious there whether the car would stamp on the brakes a bit. There was a guy merging in from the motorway, which is plenty of time. You know, there's like 3 car lengths maybe from me to the truck in front. He had opportunity there to gauge it and pull in, but he sort of sat at the side of me and started indicating. I thought, is the car going to sense him indicating there and back off for him? But it didn't. So he then got in behind me, which, yeah, it didn't adjust its speed. He's got a P on his car, a P for past new driver. Yeah, certainly entered a motorway like one. So I got about 19 more miles of motorway, I reckon. Something they can improve on the sat nav actually. It only gives you the mileage to the next junction, not the junction you want. So it's telling you what to do at the next junction. But sometimes I look and I think, oh, I need a pee. How many miles we got on this motorway? You know, you think, well, where's the services? Oh, they're 6 miles away. When are we getting off? Oh, I can't tell because it doesn't show me. Oh, shut up and bang off. So it'd be nice for it to show on that display there, instead of saying, for example, now you're 3.6 miles to the next junction. It should be saying you're 19 miles to your junction. I don't need instructions at a junction to stay on. I'm going to stay on by default. It's a motorway. We're at 75%. Let's have an assess of efficiency. So we've used 11 kilowatt hours, which according to that's 25% of the battery. So if we've got 44 kilowatts usable, is that the... Stop banging, you bloody thing, I've got hold of you. Have we got 44 kilowatts usable, or is it 54 kilowatts and it's wasting 10 on computer? And oh, wipers! My God, wipers! It's finally wiped. There was less water on the screen then than earlier. So is it wasting electricity on computer and what we had on? Oh, the fan. I got the vent fan on with no heat. I had to turn it up a little bit from number 1. It was a bit warm. But surely that's not 10 kilowatts worth. Anyway, 75%. We've done 56 miles on 11 kilowatts. Bang off! I've literally got my hand on the wheel, holding it, gripping it. Oh, we're slowing down. The truck in front of us is slowing down. It obviously feels like 50's nowhere near fast enough. We're going to do 39. I'm tempted to pull in this services for a pee. Yes, I think I will. Right, we've had a little camera reposition. Can you hear the fan noise? Turn the fan off. You know, considering that's only on, how do we do it? That one. It's only on 4 out of 10. I think that's quite loud. I'm going to try and demonstrate a bit of this. People haven't seen this before. In the comments, can anybody let me know? Can I get rid of that? Can I just swipe it? I'd rather have the whole screen as a map than that there. And, you know, to me, you just swipe that off, but it just spins your car out, which is... You know, it's all very pretty and great, but what's the point? Quite good at detecting cars since version 12. Version 11 wouldn't have done that. But the problem I get is my kids in the back seat commenting on it. Oh, look at that, Daddy. What does that mean? Oh, it missed a cone there, because cones show up. You know, it missed a cone there, and they're counting the cones and commenting on everything that it does. And I just find it a little bit distracting. I mean, if that's everything the computer sees, good for the computer, but I don't need to see it, do I? You know? Why can't it see that van in front of me? Okay. How do we get out of this services? Exit that way. So you see now it's got people walking around. You also get phantom people as well. But like there, you see lady there, that car. You know, it's quite good at picking them up, but it does mistake stuff for people. No, we don't need your Shell petrol at 173.9, you robbers. I'm hoping we don't need your electricity, 80 pence as well. Exit is this way. I hope. This fella in front has lost as me. Way out, that's it, the way out, right. Look at the size of that pothole. Good grief. That's a right wheel breaker. Oh, that one went much better. M1 left. You're going to need to accelerate, buddy. It's a motorway. Go! You won't need to accelerate much. It's an average speed check. See here, it pretty much picks up every cone it sees. Now I'm going to press Smart Cruise and Auto Steer. So you can see there it tells you the speed limit's there, that's your current speed, and that's what this cruise is set to. I'm going to set that to 50. It tells me I'm not on the steering wheel when I'm actually operating the steering wheel. It's a shame on that camera at the top there, you can't see my hand on a wheel. You see that it's bogging whilst I'm touching it. But this is what I was on about with the distance. It's telling you distance to a junction. Not the current junction, by the way. The current junction is 1 mile away. So it's a bit random really, because I don't need to know to stay on the motorway there. Where's it doing that? Do that. There, I don't need to know to stay on the motorway there, or there, or there. I need to know to come off there. And if I add all those numbers up, because I'm not distracted enough, then I can find out how far it is to my next junction. Oh, shut up. So quick maths, what we've got, 19-ish miles to my junction. Which I'll arrive 18:08 and should have 61% battery. Now, given that I was predicted 40 something as I left the house, I've forgotten what it said now, but I knew I'd do better than that. I'm saying I knew with a little bit of hindsight. We're from Halifax to Melbourne to Doncaster and back to Halifax today. That's my round trip. So when I programmed that in at the house, as far as it was concerned, it wasn't going to make it, so it was booking in a supercharger stop to charge it up. It's very good at that, you know, but obviously with me wanting to try and make it, I'm not sure why this car in front of me can't manage to drive at the same speed constantly, but I'm not going to go around him, because the slower he goes the more efficient he is. Doing 50 now, we're cruising nearly 49. Now this is a funny thing, this auto headlight, you can't just put main beam on and leave it on, as far as I can figure. You can hold it, like when you're flashing somebody out, and it'll keep main beam on, but then pushing it away from you only puts on auto main beam. An auto main beam will only come on when it can detect that there's no other cars and lights and stuff around. So it's a bit crap, to be honest, and I don't know how to disable this auto main beam. I wish it could just have, well, I wish you could just do as it's told. If I want main beam on, put main beam on. If I want auto main beam, I'll choose that option. Let me see if we can find it in the menu. Oh, auto high beam. Auto high beam must be enabled when auto steer is active. Interesting. So we're on auto steer now because we're on this motorway. Cruising at 50. In fact, we can cruise at 60 now, can't we? We left the what's it zone. I promised I'm not going to go over 60, so we'll just set that. So you touch the right ball on the steering wheel, and again I'm holding the steering wheel, it's flashing up to touch the steering wheel. I've set 60, it brings it up to 60. We'll stay at that for efficiency's sake. So you can disable auto high beam, but not when you're on auto steer. It would be nice if this map was traditional colours, like blue for motorway, you know, the different types of road in different colours, because this black and white's really quite dull and harder to read, especially if you're looking at a town map. You can't always tell which is the main road and the side roads, because some of them look the same size. So a bit of colour in there would be good, because the only colour you get is your route. Let's have a look at the efficiency, see what it's telling us. Trips. And you see, when you go into the menu system, it leaves this pointless computer view on. I don't need that. I'd rather have my map there and this menu there, and have both. So there, we're at 192 watt hours per mile, which is pretty efficient driving, really. That's 5 miles per kilowatt hour. 200 would be 5 miles per kilowatt hour. Because it hasn't got the Apple Play and Android Play, they allow you to have apps on there. Premium connectivity required. Connect to Wi-Fi. Oh, now I can create a Wi-Fi hotspot on my phone, and it'll connect to that. So that's doable. You don't really need the premium, but that just shows you can't get to it there. There's a button there that you can start looking for heated seat control and window defrost, climate control menu, wipers. Again, you shouldn't be having to look into menus for wipers, should you? They are basic controls. What next? Indicators in a menu, you know. And then while you're trying to figure out what you want, it disappears. So there's a camera there, calendar. There's arcade games as well, and you can stop. They've got a driving game you can play from the wheel. But it does actually turn the car wheel, so you're scraping them back and forth on your tarmac there, which is a bit weird. Let's go back to navigation. So we're up to 62% predicted at destination. I'm not sure that'll get any higher. It was fair ramping up in that average speed zone. We're gaining on a truck. He's a quarter of a mile ahead of us, so we'll slipstream in when we get to him. Oh, it's just gone 70% now, so we'll have a 10% readout. That button trips. So we're looking at the second one down, because the top one is since I stopped at the services. And this one is since it was last charged, so since I left my house. So we've used 13 kilowatt hours, 70%, which which again doesn't add up, does it? 54 kilowatt hour battery. So 10% is 5.4, 30%, 16.2. So we've lost 3.2 kilowatt hours, which is still a quarter of the battery has vanished into the ether. You can also configure what some of these do in controls there. Is it in there? It might not be in there. It's somewhere in one of the menus. You can choose what this does if you hold it down. So I've set it so if I hold it, hear the beep, saving footage, and it'll record the car's video for 10 minutes of what's happening, and I think the last 1 minute or something like that, and the next 10 minutes, and it saves it on my pen drive. My pen drive's in the USB socket under the wireless charger. So we'll tuck in behind this blue truck now, and we'll get a bit more efficiency. See if this 62% predicted at first stop is improved. See, on the screen there you can see the indicator flashing on the icon of the car. So that's it's reading the car's stuff, it's reading the brake lights, the indicators, to the point that it does anticipate what cars are going to do, which is quite a nice touch. So get in the comments below, tell me, do you think it's worth sitting behind trucks, being efficient like that, or do you just go get where you're going, spend time on a supercharger if need be? You know, what's the preferred method for you? I kind of mix it up a bit, it depends what I'm doing. But if I'm in no rush and I think I can do it, like today, it's going to save me using a supercharger a lot of money, and I had a bit of spare time to do this. I mean, part of it as well is I'm combining picking this rowing machine up with going to my workplace. So yeah, it's a bit of a mixed journey. What do you do? Do you slipstream a truck for efficiency? Or is that something for dull men's club? I'm getting a bit too warm now. It's 17 out there, but the sun's really shining on me. Shining on this right hand side. And I don't want to turn the aircon on. It's certainly stress-free driving sitting behind a truck like this. You're not looking for speed cameras in case you know, we got the smart motorway. You got to always keep your eye out there. You know, is it dropping to 60? And you know, just general busy traffic driving. It's yeah, very sedate by comparison. My truck's leaving. My slipstreaming truck's off. There's one in front of him though. Let's go to that one. Actually, the Autosteer there was struggling to find the lane. It was half following him, and the white line on the left was faded for the services, and the white lines on the right, as you can still see, are not particularly well painted. But if you look on screen here, it is picking them up quite well. Again, that improved with version 12. It was worse on version 11. When I'm talking about version 11 and 12, on about the software on the software menu there. Look. We're on software version 12. If I turn my wireless hotspot on, it'll check for updates and download them over my phone. But strangely it won't do it over Bluetooth. So when we get off this motorway, I'm going to let the car auto steer a little bit on regular roads, and we'll see if it does some phantom braking or silly decision making with me ready to intervene, and you'll get an idea of what it does. Oh, bong off, I've got hold of the bloody wheel. I'd like to see a better balance of buttons and screens. I mean, oh, bong off. There's basically no buttons in here. What you see on the wheel, there's the ball, there's left ball, there's a right ball on the other side, and 2 stalks, and hazard warning light button here, an SOS button here, and that's it. So you've no heater controls or anything. You've got to get on here for your heater, and because there's no feedback, there's no click or haptic feedback like a switch would, then you've got to look at least twice before you do everything, because you're pressing that, you looked once, and you're looking at the road, you're looking again. All right, I want a fan up one. Press. Did I hit it? No, I didn't. Press. Yes, I did. There we go. You know, so bong off. You're constantly taking your eyes off the road to do things that should be just a dial, a button, trick. When you press a button, you know that button's there because it's your car. You get used to it. So you reach out, you touch the button, you can feel you touching the button. You press the button up one, you feel that you've pressed it. You don't need to look at it to check that you've done it. Likewise, if it's a dial for fan speed, for example, you reach out, you feel the dial, you turn it a click clockwise, you know you've done it. It's not, it's not having to be looked at all the time, taking your eyes off the road. This is just a distraction. Because even if you know where it is, you've still got to look at it because the screen's so big. I know that if I click this temperature here, then I can click one of these, but I've still got to look to see where these are, and then look to see if I pressed it. It's poor, really. I think I'm hoping that we see a sway back towards more buttons, a mixture of buttons and screen. Screen's nice for sat nav and stuff. I mean, I don't particularly like this stuck out like an afterthought like this. There's a lot of cars today look like they designed the entire dashboard and then went, oh crap, we forgot to put a screen in. Let's just stick a tab. And that looks like a big tab just stuck on. It's an ugly mess. Integration would be better. Mercedes have done it a lot, BMW have done it a lot, where it's an afterthought looking screen, and I don't like that. It should be under the brow or in this console like some of them are now. The new Mercedes ones in this console here, it's quite nice. On the EQS I was looking at, and the screen sits up the middle there. It's quite clever how it senses all the cones. Oh, shut up, I'm touching your bleeding wheel. Percentage has dropped 59. Why is it? It's diverted us somewhere. Why has it done that? Have I just missed a junction? It didn't say anything, did it? Doesn't navigation torque on this. Bongs enough. A42, are we getting off here? Let me just follow this truck a second while I figure this out. 13 minutes faster, go on that one. I don't understand what's happened. I think I missed that last junction. I was waiting for sat-nav to tell me to turn. Too busy talking. I don't normally have this sat-nav on, to be honest. I normally use Waze. So, what do I do here then? What's that road? Stay in the right-hand lane, it's saying. Junction too far, haven't I? Oh well, it is what it is. Will be a range test then, won't it? If I'd added extra miles, like a bleeding idiot. The sat-nav didn't say anything. Let's have a look what we got. Navigation there. Navigation volume, it's off, look. Again, trying to hit a button. Well, we bimble down this junction and back. It is what it is. I don't care, do I? I'm stress-free driving, I'm not bothered. Let's have some auto steer to make it more stress-free. So I've added about 15 miles to my range test. Not ideal when I thought we were on the limit anyway.
It's 500 feet into the roundabout. Take the third exit.
So the auto cruise is slowing down for the junction here.
Now enter the roundabout.
I'm not touching
Take
anything.
The third exit.
Which, that's a little bit slow to be honest. 25 there. But we'll go with it. Let's see what it does. This way. And I'm not sure I was in the right lane there, but it is what it is. I'm not familiar with this area. So I'll turn auto steer back on here. I'll set that to 40. What do you want me to do? Go on, it's a straight road. Go. Go. Can have little dumb moments like that. Right, so we're auto steering and we're 40 mile an hour cruising on a B road, I think really this isn't it? Is it? I don't know. It's certainly a small road. And I'm just going to let it do its thing. I'll intervene if it does anything dangerous, but I'm just going to try and let it follow the road. So you can see there it's stopping for the car in front. And hopefully it'll do a little bit of phantom braking and you can see what it's like. It does accelerate fairly abruptly, at the pace of the car in front of you, really. If they accelerate fast, it seems to accelerate significantly faster than it would if there was no car there at all. So I don't know if that's programmed in for a keeping up with traffic sort of thing. Auto steer on small roads like this, I feel it doesn't know which lane to get in, so I'll do that for it. This lane, he's in the wrong lane too. It doesn't know which lane to pick, so it just kind of points itself in the lane that is nearest the centre of your car, basically. Auto steer unavailable. Why? Oh, there we go. Sometimes it does that. Auto steer unavailable. I think it's when it can't pick up the edges of the road. But yeah, it doesn't seem to have the lanes mapped in fully. That's phantom braking. Look, it thought they were going to pull out. They were going to step out because they stood right on the curb. I didn't brake there. I had to press. When it bonged, I'd press the pedal there to pull away again. Now you imagine if I'd had a truck behind me there, that could well have run into the back of me. And it was a bit idiotic standing with your toes off the edge of the curb. But yeah, that's overreaction braking. I find driving with auto steer more intense and more stressful than driving without it on A and B roads. I'm curious now, this is a fairly firm corner here. Will it go around it? Will it slow down? Look at that, straight up to the wrong side of roads. It won't follow the lines, you can't trust it.
In 1,000 feet, turn right.
Panics and fails. Now, because we've got the sat-nav set for turning right, it will slow down for a junction.
Now turn right onto Forest Lane.
But it won't turn the wheel for you. I need to do that. Now, this looks a nice little country road. Now, what the auto steer will do on roads like this, it'll often just drive in the middle. There's no auto steer available right now. It's not picking up anything it's happy with, anything it's happy to work with. So you can see these lines sketching back and forth there. It's looking for its lane and it's not happy with it to pick up auto steer. So you have to drive. It's fairly dependent on at least one white line and the edge of the road. This has had surface dressing fairly recently, so it's not got lines. Surface dressing's the tar and chippings resurfacing. Well, it's been down a while. It's not flicking up at my car. But they leave it a few weeks before they paint it. Auto steer will work here. Let's see how it does. Don't like it, but we'll see how it does. We'll just go 30 because 60 speed limit would be terrifying. I've got a feeling it'll lose the line because it's so faded. We'll see how it does. Again, 30 mile an hour, no rush. 5 miles from my destination. Maybe I'll miss that too. 5 miles from that motorway junction when I missed it. It's doing okay. It's doing a little better than I thought it would. Actually, I thought we'd have lost it on these lines, but it's keeping there. You do feel like you're watching a learner who's in your car. You know, it puts you on edge when it's lost your trust. It's lost your trust having not taking corners and stamping on brakes and things like that. We need to turn left here. Don't tell us that though, will you? And again, if the roads had been colour coded there, we might have been able to see that main road went that way and this wasn't. So, you know, some colour coding on that sat nav would have alerted us to that a little bit earlier, I think. I think you can see from my camera.
Turn left.
Hello, rude, interrupted, mid-sentence, still talking. From my camera bouncing around there, you can see it's not the smoothest of drives. This is a fairly smooth road, but that camera's fair bouncing around. That's what we're doing here. Left here, and then right at the roundabout.
Now turn left onto Jelsko Lane.
Third leg of my trip, maybe in the dark, I'm not sure, but if it is, I'll show you how these indicators get flared out by the
now enter the roundabout.
side lights.
Take the third exit.
Funny junction, it's got roundabout at this side to get on that dual carriageway, but then at this side it's just got an exit coming in, but no road there to get on. Right, we can auto steer again now. Again, I'm not going to trust it at 60, 40 will do. Let's see how it does. It tends not to phantom brake when there's nothing around, cars wise and stuff. It does tend to be pedestrians and cars that it just assumes are suicidal. But as you saw back there, it couldn't negotiate that turn, even though it was clearly lined. You know, you could definitely see where the lines were. And maybe if we'd have been going 30 or 25, maybe it'd have gone round it and negotiated it, but it didn't seem to want to turn that steering wheel fast. Good. I've got somebody just come up behind me. I was wondering if it would make them have to do an emergency stop behind me. But that's the sort of scenario I've had with lay-bys like that, and it doesn't detect that it's a lay-by and just stamps, pulls up behind it. Well, not even behind it, the side of it. You know, it's bizarre. Other times like that, it detects it, it deals with it, it ignores it. What's going to go on here? This is a fairly sharp right. We're going round, we're doing alright. It's not sulking. I did wonder there with the brow, would it detect it properly? It seemed to. Look at that castle on top of that hill. Is that Castle Donington then?
In 1,000 feet, turn right.
turning right here. Are you going to slow down?
Now turn right.
Okay, you are. I'm not doing that, by the way. But it's not going slow enough. Good grief. So you can see that it's not full autopilot. It wouldn't turn right at the junction that it knows it needs to turn right at. There is auto steering up here, this little lane. Oi! That lad's in a rush. And his friends as well behind me. Let's hope his friends waits till he can see. There you go, lad, away you go. So we'll go a bit faster down here. I think we can do 40. I don't think 40 is that much more inefficient than 30, is it? The wind resistance at 40 is not so bad. Still letting it auto steer here, but we've lost that right hand line, so we'll see what it does. I don't like that, and I don't trust it, so
1,000 feet, turn right onto Main
we'll
Street.
take over. So yeah, auto steer on a motorway, I'd give it like 8 out of 10. It's very good, but for regular roads, I think it's a liability.
Right onto
Honestly,
Main Street.
I do. I believe the Hyundai version won't turn on unless it's at least a decent A road. I don't think you can turn on the auto steer in villages like this. It says it can have it today, so let's see what it does at 30. Connected with these parked cars, and it's passing them. Okay, now we're going left here. It's a sharp corner. Is it going to negotiate that? Yes, it's okay. We'll go back to 40, see what happens. A bit wide there over white line, not ideal. I'm always ready to intervene like that. I don't trust that. It went in the gravelly bit of the edge. You know, that's a bit worrying. Yes, for motorway use really, isn't it? Dual carriageways, motorways, single, you know, just roads that have got roads that have got proper white lines, proper demarcation, and they're not going round sharp corners. And maybe it'll improve with software updates, but it's worrying. Right, I can see my destination on the map. Now I did only put in the postcode, so I'll get this rowing machine picked up. We'll see how well it fits, test the boot capacity, and I'll come back to you. With a bit of fiddling, I managed to get that rowing machine in. It's on my back seat there. We actually had to put it in through the side door because that is probably 2 inches taller, the foot, than the height of the boot, and it's held on with a Torx, so we couldn't remove it. So there we go. We fit that in, and I bundled all my work gear back in, which you can just see in there. So that's it, Tesla van. Right, let's have a little drive to destination number 2, which is, switch it around. Oh yeah. So destination 2, there we go. It's 61 miles away. It says we'll have 33% when we get there. And we'll get there for 8:20. So as we commence leg 2 of my trip, we're at 181 watt hours per mile, which is quite impressive, really. So back out of this village, back to the motorway junction that I should have come off at in the first place. My car goes rattling in the back, all makes for good audio. So we left there with 60% remaining by my reckoning. Was it 59, 60, something like that? 59, I think. So the original guessometer said we'd be there with 48 or something like that, which I managed to do it more efficiently than it said. I think thankfully most of those 50 mile an hour average speed zones helped out with that. So this next leg is 60 miles. And then once I've done that leg, I'll be parking it up for night. We'll note how much it loses parked, because it does lose some when it's parked. Oh, it's noisy, isn't it? I've certainly driven quieter cars than this. And all that's road noise as well, isn't it? Because there's no engine noise there. I've got a fly buzzing around my cabin. Yeah, it's all road noises. That there's no V8 noise, is there? I'm lost. We're following the sat nav, and she will talk to me. Turn left. We're turning left. Gotcha. Stop indicating. We've turned. Strangely as well, I've noticed this older model makes a different noise to the new model. You know, the fake noise for when you're doing low speed. Like my friend has a same thing, a Model 3 that's only maybe 3 months old, and when he drives away it does a sort of how does it go, Ben? It goes like that. And this one doesn't seem to have any fake noise. It just has a quiet hum of an electric motor. Now, I thought there was a requirement that they were supposed to make a noise. The Leaf that I had back in 2014 made a noise, but you could also turn it off. But it was one of those, like the lane departure warnings, you had to turn it off every time you drove if you wanted it off.
In 1 mile, keep right to stay on M1 towards Sheffield, Leeds.
See that? Keep right to stay on M1. You don't need telling to stay on the motorway. You know, just tell me how many miles to my exit, not how many miles to my not exit. Right, we're at 50% battery. We've covered 116 miles and used 21 kilowatt hours of energy according to the last charge trip. So according to that, when we've used another 21 kilowatt hours, we'll be empty. We've used 42. It'll be interesting, actually. I'll charge it to 100% when I've done this journey and see how many kilowatt hours it puts back compared with how many it's saying it's used. Because you can't really have true efficiency figures if you haven't got an actual reading of what you actually used, can you? Well, phantom wipers. It's bone dry. Yeah, the wipers just turned on. I wonder what's triggering that. I mean, Windscreen's clean. There's no sunshine glaring across it that might be interrupting the camera. I don't know. Now it's raining. And no wipers. There's a lot of water noise from the spray. It's almost like the window's open, but if you open the window, yeah, it's like spray noise from the tyres when it's raining. Almost loud enough to make you think your window's open a little bit. And the other thing I've noticed as well when it's raining with the wipers, most cars these days, certainly every car I've had for the last 10 years, has had on your A-pillar down there, has had a guide for the rain. So when your wiper goes up and there's a load of water on the right hand side of your screen, it blows up over your roof. But this, it ends up with throwing it all over your side window. So your side window's always full of mucky water or rain wash, screen wash water. Every time you wash your screen, it throws it all over your side window. That's not very well thought through. What are you bunging at? There's not anything on screen. I ought to be bunging at you for not wiping my windscreen. Finally we wiped. Oh, that's interesting. So I was turning my head sideways there whilst looking forwards to see what it's monitoring. Now there is actually a camera up here above your wing mirror, your rear view mirror. There's a tiny little dot and it's a camera. And I was turning my head as if I'm looking that way, but I was looking forward with my eyes. And it popped up on screen. Pay attention to the road. Interesting. Big brother is watching you. I'll just put my thumb over camera now to just see if it throws any errors. It's just asking me to apply force to the steering wheel there. Even though I am. I wonder if there's more than one camera in here. I'm not really sure. I'd have to Google that and have a look. I half suspected here if I covered it like this, it would throw some kind of error and say we're not auto steering for you. We won't auto steer if we can't watch your face. But it doesn't seem to be. Starting to ache holding it there. Oh. So we're down to 175 watt hours per mile since I left that first stop. 175 since there, 179 total since I left home. That's pretty good going, really. But we have gone very slow. I mean, like now, I'm cruising at 46 now behind a truck. We're in an average 50 zone again, which there's a lot of them. This M1 section at the minute is full of it. So let's see if I can fool it again. If I turn my head like this, but I'm looking at a truck in front of me. It is on auto steer right now. I'm looking at the truck. But is the camera thinking I've got my heads? They're just looking off to the right in the scenery there. Is it going to get fooled by that? Pay attention to the road. I am doing. And if I wiggle the wheel, it stops it. Okay, let's try that again. So there's definitely some kind of thing to protect you from, I suppose, from falling asleep while it's steering for you. You imagine on 100 miles of motorway, it's going to just start to get a bit tedious. Saying pay attention to the road, and even though I'm pushing the steering wheel, it's having a sulk at me. When I turn my head straight, it goes away. Okay. And if you cover up the camera, it seems to just pop up and say apply force to steering wheel. Let's try that again. So I'm covering the camera. Intentionally applying more force than I normally would to the steering wheel, and it's still saying apply light force. I think that comes up more frequently when it can't see my face on the camera. Interesting.
In 1 mile, keep right to stay on M1 towards Rotherham.
Towards Rotherham? That's not a colloquial pronunciation, is it? Rotherham. She says it again. Say it again. Navigation.
Keep right to stay on M1.
Oh, she didn't say it. Okay, we're at our 40% battery remaining. Check in. We've done 144 miles. Apparently used 26 kilowatt hours of battery, or 178 watt hours per mile. Corrective steering applied for your safety. It's not bloody safe. Changing lane. There's no need to indicate when coming left a lane. You indicate to go round things. You don't indicate to come back in. Look in the highway code. Bullshit. Stupid lane assist. Euro crap that. Let's remove him. We're not in EU anymore. Should be able to fully disable it permanently. Arrgh. I fancy a bit of KFC. What have I been travelling now? Set off at 4 o'clock ish, and it's 20 past 8. And a bit of tomato soup from the missus, which is lovely. But I fancy KFC. I see the golden arches of Dirty Ron's. I don't fancy Dirty Ron's. I wonder. Is the KFC in the sat-nav? Add KFC. 0.1 mile away. Well, that'd be rude not to, wouldn't it? What you betting it's turn left here and I've just missed it. Yes, navigate there. Oh, it's there.
In 500 feet, enter the roundabout and take the third exit.
No, I think we go here. I think she's lying to me. Stop indicating. Oh yes, look at that.
Now enter the roundabout and take the second exit.
Drive through KFC. I don't know what I want. Flaming wrap. I don't know. Handbrake sounds very mechanical, doesn't it? It sounds quite robotic compared with the rest of the bongy niciness. To make room for a latte in this cup holder, because one cup is empty. Has there ever been a car test that's this long? Is anyone still watching? Where is it? There. Don't take Amex, I bet.
No, we don't.
There we go.
Cheers.
That's a bit of beep.
Would you like to receive?
No thanks.
There you are.
Thank you.
And there you are.
Yeah, and thank you.
Enjoy.
Thank you. See ya.
Have a good night.
Fancy a KFC not taking Amex. How rude is that? Stop bonging. Stop bogging. Kentucky Fried American Chicken doesn't take the American Express. Crazy. So we go right here. Ooh.
Now enter the roundabout and take the first exit.
And then we enter the roundabout and take the first exit. Now here's an interesting one. I'm next to a place called Lakeside Lake. So which came first? The lake or the lakeside? Anyway, that was good. KFC was in the sat-nav. I wonder if that's down to it being connected to Wi-Fi or if it's in there default. Not really sure. There's a lot of people walking around here and exercising. Good grief. Manholes found loose, isn't it? On that one. Speed bump. Oh. Apparently this is a 60 mile an hour road. I wouldn't want to hit that at 60. Can't be a 60 mile an hour road here. I'm doing 30. It looks like a 30.
In 500 feet, turn left onto Middle Bank.
So far then, this trip, 62 miles, 163 watt hours per mile for an hour and a half. And I'm just saying that now because if you open your door, it resets it, even though you haven't really done anything. And I need to press an intercom. So my 62-mile trip resets, I believe. Yeah, as soon as I put it in drive. Beeping at? Who's beeping? As soon as I put it in drive, it resets, which is a bit annoying, because you might have a gate that you need to open that's not part of your trip. But it does log since I charged it. Obviously that hasn't changed because it hasn't been plugged in. And, that's the bit that matters really, isn't it? Because when I get back to my charger is when the range anxiety stops. So from where I am now, let's see, the last leg of my journey is 32 miles as the crow flies, and
Now enter the roundabout and take the second exit.
46 miles by road, and it's saying here we'll have 14% battery when we get there. So, and what we're at now, we're at 35% now. 14% after 46 miles should put us at 205 miles with 14% less left. We'll see, won't we? We'll see. That's the end of my second leg. There's been a lot of 50 mile an hour average speed. There must be, there and back, probably 50 miles total, I reckon, which is really quite efficient once you're sat behind a truck and he's doing 48 or so and you're slipstreaming him at 48 and just cruise along. There's not a lot you can do, is there? It's 50 average zone. It is what it is. Good for efficiency, bad for boredom. So I'm going to end there. I'm going to do my night's work because I'm on a night shift tonight, and then drive home the what did we say it was? 46 miles home in the morning, and we'll see what the car's lost as well. I've turned everything off now, the Sentry mode and fans and all that, so it's at 35%. So when I come back to it in about 10 or 11 hours, we'll see how much it's lost just sat here doing nothing. And hopefully it's not too cold in the morning, because I don't want to have to put my heater on. So, end of leg 2. Now this is quite interesting, to me at least. I've sat here 20 minutes, sat at my KFC, drunk my coffee, and the battery has risen as it's been stood. It's like it's settled into 37%. Interesting one, because I was expecting it to drop over time, and maybe it will again, I don't know. Yeah, didn't expect that. It's been said many a time that the Tesla's poor quality. Well, lights shouldn't have condensation in them, should they? That side, no, that side's alright, just short of a good wash. But one of my favourite things of an example of the poor quality, sounds like an oil drum. I think this side sounds worse. Look at that. Doors sound alright. Try a wing. Oh my god. Is that actually glass? Yeah, headlights are glass. So I think there's very little soundproofing in some areas. The doors seem to have a bit. But certainly this wing sounds like a bloody oil drum. Now I've just arrived back after my shift at work, and if you remember when we pulled up it said 35%, and then when I sat it went up to 37. It's back to 35 now. So we're now going to do 46 miles back to my house and the guessometer says we'll have 10% left. So let's see how that goes. I'm again going to run without heating. It's 12 degrees, and all I'll do is press it again there. Number 1 on the fan, blowing on my windscreen. No heat, just to stop it from misting up. So let's crack on and see how it goes.
Now bear right onto Greyfriars Road.
So no sooner have I set off, my guessometer's now saying 15%
Now
at the
turn
destination.
left onto Church Way.
Don't know what that's about. Okay, we're at 30% battery remaining, so let's have a mileage update. It says we've used 30 kilowatts and we've done 170 miles and averaged 177 watt hours per mile. I've also got a feeling the last junction, from junction 25 to 24 of the M62, is a huge climb, and I do wonder if the sat-nav is programmed to compensate for gradients or not. So I've got a feeling we might lose a couple of percent there, because it's about a 5-mile constant climb. We'll see when we get there. Well, I'm doing speed limit. Oh, now this looks a moderately tight corner. I'm curious how the Autosteer does this. I'm on the wheel. I didn't interrupt it, but it did complain. So that was about its limit, I reckon. I've got the wheel, don't worry. Again, I didn't interrupt it there, but it had a little complaint about it. That's just about on its limit of what it can cope with. It did wander a bit close to life. Yeah. Like I said, it's not very good on these roads. It puts you on edge. You're trying to let it drive and relax and let it drive. It's not a relaxing thing. It's relaxing on the motorway, sat behind a truck. That's quite steady. But this is like watching a toddler drive your car. It's
In 1
worrying.
mile, enter the roundabout. Take the 3rd exit.
There, it can't deal with a parked car like that at all. I mean, I wouldn't expect it to there, but I do wonder if some software could be improved. The van was going through and the car seems unable to follow at all. to leave it, it would just brake and come to a stand. I didn't want to do that because I've got a car behind me. And you look a right pillock. But I wouldn't mind demonstrating it for you on video. So the guessometer's saying 12% when we get back now. I didn't trust it there. I'm sure it'd have put us into that wall if I let it. It's one thing to trust it with a bit of a dirt curb, and another thing to trust it with a 7-foot wall. I wouldn't mind a bit of heat on, I'm a bit cold. It's 12 degrees out there. Guessometer's gone to 11%. So I think by coming this way we're going to have a little less mileage than we'd said. I think we worked it out 208, I think. But with becoming a bit more of a direct route on A roads. Oh Jesus, stop braking. So it saw that car there waiting to pull out and was just phantom braking, even though the car in front plainly gone through at 40 miles an hour. And again, it's no, it is, it's not, it is, it's not. That's not on auto steer either, that's just on adaptive cruise. I think I said earlier I've got a Hyundai Ioniq 6 on order, and Hyundai have been pretty poor actually at delivery times. I ordered it in December and they're telling me it'll come at the end of July, which is shoddy I think. I'm hoping the car's not a disappointment after that long wait. But you don't see any on the road. I know they're a bit of a funky looking thing. The back end looks like a Porsche 911 and the front end looks like a 1970s Citroen Saloon DS Citroen, which I quite like actually, because I'm glad it's something that stands out. It's a bit different, because a lot of cars these days, they're just so plain and same looking, that Hyundai have managed to do something that looks a bit different. Like the Teslas, I can't really tell them apart. I can look at one and not. I know it's a Tesla, but other than that, they all just look the same really. One's a bit taller. They're a bit bland on styling. I'll do the same here. Once I've merged, I'm not going to go any more than 60 probably sit behind a truck. Just have some stress-free cruising. The Ioniq 6 that I've ordered, I only see one. I mean, I didn't know it existed until December last year, and out in the wild, not on a forecourt, I've only seen one, and that was about 2 weeks ago. And you would think all this mileage I do quite a bit of driving for my job, and yeah, I've only seen one in all that time. I've probably done 12,000 miles since December and only seen one. Okay, 20% battery remaining, 10% increment update. So with 20% remaining, we have done 192 miles, used 35 kilowatt hours and 181 watt hours per mile average. I was looking on my app when I was stopped, and the Ohm app for my Ohm charger says that this car's got a 52 kilowatt hour battery. So in theory, when you're at 20% battery, surely you should have used 40 kilowatt hours. So if it's put 35 through the wheels and 5 through the onboard systems, that's still quite a lot of use for the onboard systems. There wasn't any driving with the lights on. There was a little bit of wipers, but not much. So what's it spent 5 kilowatts on? Well, this is our last supercharger. Hack said more services. This would be my emergency one if I thought I wasn't going to get up the hill and home. So we're going to dip down into the bottom by Brighouse now, and then I'm wondering if it's going to munch into the battery and reduce its amount on the long climb up the other side of the hill. We'll see. Right, so this is the bottom of the dip now. We're 18% battery. We're coming off at 3.5 miles, but it's a right climb up here. Left coming off the motorway with 4.2 miles to go. It's the Porsche Taycan Turbo at the side of us. I don't know why they call it a turbo, because it's an electric car. There's certainly no turbo in there. I think it might be the one that holds the record for the fastest depreciating car. It's a shame, really. I quite like them. There's probably some good second-hand bargains to be had with them. So I'm pretty sure it does factor in the gradients, because I just dropped to 13% now, but it's saying 14% at destination. So it's factoring in that it's going to regen some down this hill, and it's probably right. It will regen enough for 1%. When I had my Nissan Leaf, it had the long-term stats of what the car had done, and overall it had regened back 10% of the charge on hills. And I live in quite a hilly area, so I don't know if that would be more. I suppose it would be more than somebody who lives in a flat area, because you're only going to regen when you come into a stand. Whereas when you live on a hill like this, you can be regenning for a couple of miles. If you look at my video of when I got my Cortina and what failed on it? The coil failed, and the points. And on that video, I ran off my driveway, trying to be considerate for my neighbours, and because I had no exhaust on it, I was taking it to have my exhaust done, and they got a young baby, so I thought, trying to be considerate, I'll freewheel off my driveway, get 100 yards down the road, and then start it. And it turned out the coil was broken, so it wasn't going to start ever. But that was only a couple of days after I'd driven it back from London, so it must have literally just failed on my driveway, because I reversed it in there a couple of days prior. We haven't got back to 14% yet. Oh, the guessometer's gone to 13 now. Oh, we've gone to 14th. We have there, just there. Okay, so there we have it. I brought my stuff home, and we've achieved, well, it's telling us here the battery's low. We know that. It's at 14%. I didn't think we'd have 14% left, to be honest. I thought we'd be more like 7 or 8. We will be charging now, don't panic. And then if we press that and go to trips, so this journey is this middle one here. We've done 208 miles on 37 kilowatt hours, and we've averaged 181 watt hours per mile. So that's what, about 5.3 miles on a kilowatt hour, which we'll see. I'm gonna charge it now, and the app tells me how much energy the car's taken on a full charge, so we'll do that. And in theory, I think we're going to be putting in more like 45 kilowatt hours maybe. So yeah, the efficiency is sort of that with the motors only, but there's the ancillaries. You know, the computer doesn't run for free because it's electric. You know, you don't count your petrol car miles per gallon without the heater and stuff like that, do you? So, you know, let's compare apples with apples, and let's see what the real journey cost. I'll put the car on charge now. I'll go have a nice little sleep after my night shift, and we'll see what it's charged to when it's done. Okay, so the car's charged to 100% over the course of the day while I've had a sleep. And according to the Tesla app, it's added 40 kilowatt hours there. But also, according to the charger on the wall, it doesn't focus. 43.5, that says. Why is that not focusing? Rubbish. Promise, it does say 43.5. So again, the actual cost of my motoring, 1.858 pence a mile, which is fantastic when you can charge it at home. That's my charge schedule today. Started at 7:45, and because it's the intelligent Octopus, it just picked out some cheap times during the day and charged my car. So that's great. But let's work those figures out exactly with the exact figures. Right, I've been away. I've sharpened my pencil, written down some figures. So the 208 miles that I actually did, and the car claimed on screen there 37 kilowatt hours, works out at 5.6 miles per kilowatt hour, or 178 watt hours per mile. When it charged, the car said it had accepted 40 kilowatt hours, which works out 5.2 miles per kilowatt hour, or 192 watt hours per mile. But the reality of it is, from the wall, it drew 43.5 kilowatt hours, which works out 4.78 miles per kilowatt hour, or 209 watt hours per mile. So based on that, those 43.5, this is going on the worst figure here, the reality figure, 43.5 miles, start again, 43.5 kilowatt hours cost me 7.5 pence a kilowatt hour because of my smart tariff, even though I charged during the day because I was on a night shift. I put it on the morning, said have the car ready by 10 p.m, whatever it was, and it found cheap slots during the day, and I only paid 7.5 pence. That works out at 1.57 pence per mile, or 63 miles for a pound. I mean, that's bloody efficient, even, you know, on the reality figures. That's impressive figures, is that, isn't it? It is cheap if you can charge at home. And this is the thing, the chargers, if you find a Tesla supercharger, you're going to pay about 5 times that price. But if you can't and you use a regular charger, you're going to pay about 10 times that price. How is that even legal? What on earth is that about? So it's very much if it suits you, isn't it? If you could charge at home, get on a good tariff, brilliant. It can be very cheap motoring, if that's what you're looking for. You know, if you're happy with an electric car, I don't know, whatever your reason you're doing it for, if you want electric because you can do it cheap like this, or you're buying because you got some eco statement, or you might like the car. Really, do you like the car? And as I was just doing those figures, my wife said, I told her those, and she said, oh, what's it going to cost me to run the young'un to chess club tonight, which is about 12 miles away. And because I need this for work, so she won't be using this, she'll be using my other car, which does not a lot. It's there actually, let me just show you. It's just sitting there, and you know, it's a twin turbo V8, so it's going to do twin turbo V8 figures. But to do that, let's see, she's going to do about 12 miles each way. So yeah, about 12, so 24 miles. It generally does about 17 to a gallon, so that's a gallon and a half of fuel. A gallon's about £7 because it has to run super unleaded, so about £10.50 for 17 miles, so that's like 60 odd pence a mile. And for, I mean, you could literally do hundreds of miles per pound. This is 63 miles per pound, so if that's going to cost me, you call it a tenner, this would do 630 miles on what that's running. Wow. Yeah. So I'd wonder, on a long-term test, so say you bought this new and you paid whatever they were, 39,000. What does it devalue over time compared with buying the equivalent 2-litre diesel or 2-litre petrol, maybe, of something with a similar performance? What do you save in fuel over time on, say, if you do 10,000 miles a year? Does that cover the depreciation of these? I know you've got to reduce service costs. There's not as many moving parts on these. I know when I had my Nissan Leaf back in 2014, I took it for its first service at 1 year old, and they charged me £70, and I think that was about the hourly rate in 2014 for the dealer. And I thought, for £70 they've looked at it and gone, that's a Nissan Leaf, you know, literally what they get done in an hour, because there was no oil to change and stuff like that. The brakes barely wear out, because if you drive sensibly, you're on regen all the time. So yeah, I wonder, it'd be an interesting calculation to do. But you still have to be a Tesla driver to save that money, don't you? I'm looking forward to comparing with the Hyundai when that comes, of real world figures, because They say on paper, Tesla's figures, Tesla's own figures of what they claim this will do, are calculated differently to Hyundai. I don't really care who calculates what like what. I will go out and measure it and measure what I put in by the charger and just get an actual figure instead of an estimate. You know, we want real world figures, don't we? So that's what I've done. This has been a really long review, test drive. I know. Are these long format videos good? I can do these in my workshop as well. I don't know. Do people sit and watch these? Let me know in the comments. Would you prefer a shortened version? Do you prefer a longer version that covers more bases? If you're still watching at this point, thank you. Wow. You really had nothing to do. So I'm going to sign off at that. That's me. Tesla review done. I probably won't mention the Tesla again now. I think that's enough of it. And in 6 weeks, I think I get rid of it. Thanks for watching.